Good day, it's January 2nd, 2026. We wish you a better new year, whichever part of the world you're watching us from. As we just ended the year 2025 a day ago, we bring a wrap-up of newsmakers of the year and events that mark 2025 as a year of turmoil in many parts of the world. Here at Film TV News program, The Pulse, brought you stories of what was happening in the US and many parts of the world during the year. So in our first broadcast for 2026, we bring you news summaries of important events that shaped the world in 2025. I'm Sam Buban. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Joe Boban. Welcome to the New Year's edition.
We begin with 2025 newsmakers in the United States. Donald Trump assumed his second presidency as the 47th President of the United States. With it, carries out a multifaceted plan to change the America that everyone knew, like the government, the diverse people, human rights champion, our world presence and respect in the global stage, and our judicial system that is mindful of everyone's constitutional rights. The President and his transitional team brought with them Project 2025, a guidebook of the implementation plan that will change the United States as we know it. The Project 2025 plan of the Trump administration were written by several authors who are affiliated with the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. Elon Musk, who was Trump's big campaign donor, was appointed head of the department not recognized or created by Congress, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Elon Musk's DOGE fired thousands of career civil servants, employees of federal government agencies like the IRS, Social Security, Veterans Affairs, and career service employees of the State Department, our Foreign Affairs Department, among others. No agency was spared in the chopping block of workforce downsizing, even those extremely essential employees like the air traffic controllers, TSA inspectors, and FEMA workers. But Elon Musk left the Trump administration after barely 3 months as his own company, Tesla, suffered billions of losses as it lost its market shares due to boycott of the Tesla car in Europe and China, and in the US due to his involvement in the Trump administration. Many pushback from critics said that the shrinking of the government was with the intent to reduce the federal budget in order to come up with money sufficient to offset the big tax breaks to the billionaires. Medicaid, the last resort health insurance for the poor and the working class, was reduced by more than $864 billion for the next 10 years in the Big Beautiful Bill that Speaker Mike Johnson has directed by the White House, and that is for Medicaid and CHIPS alone. CHIPS, which is the Children's Health Insurance Program that many infants and up to high schoolers are covered. President Trump also sequestered funds that were already appropriated and approved by Congress, like the budget allocation for USAID, ending the American Assistance Program all over the world. Without the USAID, so many healthcare and food assistance programs worldwide, especially in famine areas, were stopped. The ripple effects include American farmers who were used to selling their farm produce to USAID. That too suddenly stopped. The U.S. Supreme Court, with conservative majority of 6-3, 2 of whom were appointed by him, is going along with what he wants in more than a dozen of cases rushed through the High Court called shadow docket, an urgent decision on his executive orders that were blocked by lower federal courts. The president also imposed tariff to almost every country in the world, including our important and traditional allies in our national defense. He imposed heavy tariffs on Mexico and Canada and talked publicly about possessing Canada as a U.S. state. That one didn't go well with the Canadians, who also imposed tariffs on U.S. trade, and Canadians, who were the biggest customers in the tourism economy, stopped coming to the U.S.
Trump, who ran his 2024 campaign of deporting millions when he becomes president again, seems to be making good at his promise. On his first year of his second presidency, the administration has deported nearly 350,000 people, according to a CNN report. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has been going around stopping people and arresting them just by the color of their skin. Thousands have disappeared from the United States, with thousands of relatives wondering what happened to their family members. ICE agents practically kidnapped people on the streets with face masks and no identification badges. The most recognizable name to Americans and the world is a deportee named Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and has become the poster boy of Trump's deportation program. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was legally granted by a protective status by a judge in 2017, was arrested as he was routinely reporting to an immigration office to check in monthly, as instructed by a judge when he was arrested by ICE agents and deported to El Salvador without due process and ended up in the infamous CCOT prison in El Salvador. Federal judges had sided with Kilmar Abrego Garcia and ordered that he be returned to the U.S. for a habeas corpus hearing. After weeks of legal wrangling with Pam Bondi's Justice Department, he was returned to the U.S. soil, not as ordered by the judge, but as a defendant of a case that many suspected as a way of showing the administration did not want to follow U.S. District Judge Polasina's order, but that Abrego Garcia was brought back to face federal charges of human smuggling in Tennessee. Abrego Garcia was transferred to a federal detention facility in Maryland where Judge Sines' court is, but was later moved to a detention center in Pennsylvania, which lawyers said it was harder for them to get to him. In more recent decision, Judge Sines ordered that he not be deported again, as the case continued to move on, and as she is trying to determine whether or not Kilmar Abrego Garcia's charges was a vindictive prosecution by the administration for having the federal judge and judges of Court of Appeals agreed to her on Abrego Garcia's case. A senior-ranked federal judge in Washington, D.C. reminded Homeland Security and ICE that overstaying a visa is not a criminal offense, but a civil offense. That when arresting or looking for an alien who had overstayed his or her visa, that they should obtain a civil warrant.
Congress, under the leadership of Mike Johnson, has been a disaster. It ceded many of its power as a co-equal branch of the government to Donald Trump. The power of the purse, which has been essential to checks and balance, was taken over by the president. Funding already approved and allocated by Congress was removed and impounded by the Treasury Department. Among them, with the largest victims causing pain and suffering, was the USAID, or USAID. And Republicans who control Congress did nothing or voiced up their opposition. During the first year of the 2 years of the 119th Congress, they were able to pass only 38 bills into law and were on vacation for more than 9 weeks total by order of Speaker Mike Johnson. And Mike Johnson's speakership saw the longest government shutdown in history. Many lawmakers from both parties are so frustrated that the dysfunction and chaos of the House of Representatives under Speaker Mike Johnson that many had announced to retire or no longer seek re-election in 2026. Among them was Trump's ardent ally and supporter, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia.
In the judiciary, another equal branch of the government continued to push back against the president for laws violated by his executive orders. Federal judges and Court of Appeals had ruled against Trump, but the Supreme Court had mostly sided with him on many challenges. Among those challenges were the unlawful terminations of officials, commissioners, and board members of regulatory bodies created by Congress, including the Copyright Register in the Library of Congress, the National Statistician who reports on unemployment data. The Trump administration officials and Republican members of Congress habitually attacked verbally judges who ruled against Trump and even threatened them with impeachment. Among the judges they continually disparaged is D.C. Chief Judge Boasberg, who was big in stopping Trump on deportations without due process.
The independent voters and moderate Republican voters had soured up with the Trump administration and their party. And the trend has grown toward the last quarter of 2025 when polls after polls show a decline in approval rating of Donald Trump, and as of December 30th, he is at 43% overall according to 19 pollsters, but scored very badly on the economy. Political analysts are saying the bad signs continue for the Republican Party, leading to the 2026 midterm election. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for more.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
We use headphones as a part of our everyday lives. Whether we're at work, getting exercise, meditating, in transit, studying, practicing, or relaxing.
Hi, I'm Ryan Sway, the founder of Aircom. I would like to introduce the world's first wireless airflow audio earbuds. As a festival and a concert junkie, I really enjoy the live experience of being there and feeling the music. When we started developing Airflow, our goal was to reproduce that live experience using earbuds.
The problem with traditional headphones is that the speakers are located inside of the earpiece, literally giving you centimeters before the audio hits your eardrum.
What Aircom is doing, they're the first company to actually address the fact that there needs to be a space involved associated with having the sound waves expand fully.
The difference between traditional headphones and Aircom audio is that the air tube gives you 8 times more space, allowing the sound waves to fully develop before they actually hit your eardrums. And this gives it a much more live, natural sound, just like in a recording studio.
It's real nice that someone actually addressed the physics associated with how sound comes out.
The challenge we had was to create an earbud with enough airspace for the sound to fully develop and breathe. Unfortunately, traditional earbuds are about the size of a jelly bean, and there's just not enough airspace. However, that changed when we developed Airflow Audio. Airflow uses an air tube to deliver 6 to 8 times more airspace than traditional earbuds. The end result is a true live listening experience, just like you're at a festival or a concert. We also added magnets to the back of the earpieces so you can wear it around your neck when you're not using it.
Being that the drivers are 8 inches from the earpiece, The magnets do not affect the integrity of the sound at all.
The orange line represents the frequency transmitting through the wire to the speaker, which then converts to the blue sound wave that develops more as it travels up the air tube, producing a balanced, full body and live listening experience.
Another really cool feature is that these earbuds are sweat-proof and water-resistant because they're coated with a super hydrophobic nanotechnology. So now you can be on a skateboard or riding a motorcycle and listen to music as if you were watching a live show or actually in a recording studio.
We're coming to you for help in bringing these unparalleled earbuds to market.
Welcome back to the polls. Trump's unilateral decision to impose tariff in almost every country around the world has translated to economic woes for Americans and the world. Because importers naturally pass on the cost of paying tariffs to the consumers, prices everywhere have gone up on everything that is subject to tariff. The price increase on the shelves and merchandise floor are between 18% to 29%. Agricultural products like fruits and vegetables, meat and dairies had also gone up as the cost of feeds have risen due to tariff. The cost of lumber to build homes had also gone up. Vegetable prices had gone up also because of the labor cost increase, as thousands of undocumented aliens that constitute a percentage of the labor force had been deported or stopped coming to work as ICE raided farms for illegal aliens.
We now go to the world outside the US. The world is at war in 2025. All of this began before the 2025. The most horrific of which was Israel's war in Gaza. At the end of the year 2025, more than 60,000 Palestinians had died from bombings, assault by Israeli Defense Force, and starvation and disease. Thousands of victims were children and women. The casualties were generally innocent civilians, non-combatants, collateral damage. The Gaza region has turned into a land of famine and desolate, where there are no shelters left except frail tents. Even after a Stage 1 ceasefire was agreed upon by the Palestinian leaders and Israel, Israel continued its attacks, killing more than 360 people since the ceasefire began. The world watched in horror as semblance of humanity from the occupation forces has disappeared. Civilians were being told different things every day about the location to get food and basics, but several incidents that many were killed by bombs and automatic weapons while in a QE line. The United Nations Secretary General had described Gaza as the graveyard for children. Israel had allowed very limited flow of international humanitarian aid to Gaza even as the ceasefire was in effect.
As other parts of the world saw deaths and sufferings as well, in the Democratic Republic of Congo and parts of eastern region had been occupied by rebels. The M23 gang that is being supported by the president of Rwanda. They inflicted so much death and suffering to displaced citizens of the DRC. As the region became isolated from the rest of the DRC, when the regular government troops could not hold the roads and important cities as they got overwhelmed by the M23 rebel forces. The Rwandan support on the rebellion in the DRC is known to have been funded by Middle East rich oil countries. And in Southeast Asia, the Myanmar military junta's control of the country is dwindling as rebel alliance from different splintered factions had banded together in a big offensive, making the military junta government to lose control of border cities and towns. The civil war had caused thousands in death and internal displacement.
In Sudan, the area of Darfur once again became a no man's land as the Rapid Security Force, or RSF, rebels had taken control of a vast territory, including El Fasher, an important city in central Sudan that has now been cut off from the national government. The regular government forces had not been able to retake the territories occupied by the RSF, who were formerly Janjaweed rebels that had caused thousands of deaths to Sudanese in the 1990s. The government of Khartoum has not been able to negotiate anything with the RSF rebels as yet. And the US president, who campaigned about ending wars during his campaign, is being seen in Washington as starting a new war, a war with Venezuela.
In the Philippines, the year of reckoning for corrupt officials and unscrupulous contractors. For 3 generations since our independence from the US in 1946, the Philippines has been considered by many as a kleptocracy. Government officials steal from the nation's treasury through ghost projects in the public works and highways, from the Bureau of Customs and from the Bureau of Internal Revenue. In the customs, it is through underreported or underassessment of goods subject to tax, and the rest were negotiated by the customs collector, who pockets the money and distributes it among customs personnel. The same modus at the BIR, institutionalized corruption. In the public works and highways, officials at the government body keeps the bulk of the project funds and at times shares with the politicians, leaving only ghost projects to the locality. And if ever the project was actually done, they were substandard or much less than what was being reported as completed. The heavy torrential rains and flooding in Luzon during the first year of the Ferdinand Marcos Jr. presidency, whom the president saw with his own eyes as he toured the calamity area, triggered a call for congressional oversight and investigations. And the year 2025 became the year of reckoning to the corrupt officials and politicians. President Marcos have the political will to make those people accountable, recover a big part of the stolen money. The president also promised that people will go to prison. At the end of the year, already 29 officials and contractors are in jail awaiting trial, and 2 are fugitive from the law in another country.
In Southeast Asia, China reigned in on the scam farms of Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. The pressure from China on Myanmar and Thailand resulted in serious crackdowns and arrest of operators of those multi-billion-dollar scam farms or scam villages operated by Chinese nationals, and most of the victims in their worldwide operations are themselves Chinese citizens. 5 of the big-time operators had already been turned over to Chinese authorities, where they are being tried and faces death penalty. And offshoot to the same operations in the Philippines, the government had sentenced former Mayor Alice Guo to life behind bars in the Philippines. Alice Guo, who was a Chinese national, raised in the Philippines as a young girl and became financially powerful to run as mayor in Bamban, Tarlac. A PNP raid in the scam centers in her town triggered a congressional Quad Committee hearings that exposed even further the POGO operations in the Philippines.
We will leave it at that, and as we are out of time for this broadcast, we pray to God that 2026 will be a better year, less sufferings and a little peaceful than the previous year we all lived with. I'm Joe Boban. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Sam Buban. Please join us again next week. We wish you a Happy New Year 2026 and a better world for all of us. God bless your week.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.